Now let's go over the table question type. Now this is what the question type looks like. This is pretty much like a fill in the blank question. The main difference is that simply the fill in the blank questions have been rearranged. You can kind of think of it in this way. So basically in a table question, you're going to have two things that are going to be connected to each other in some way. For example, in this case, on the left-hand side, we have the different tests, and then on the right-hand side, we have the different findings associated with these tests. So the information in the two columns of the table are going to be related in some way. Now this question goes mostly in order, and remember that anytime when you have a question that goes mostly in order, you have to assume that it goes in order when you are looking for the answers to the questions in the reading passage. Always assume that these questions go in order. But keep in mind that there will be about 10 to 20% of the times when these questions don't go in order. The next thing to note is that this one has a yellow dot, which means that these questions have a medium level of difficulty. The way to identify this question is by simply looking at the table here, or by seeing up here. It tells you to complete the table below. Here is a bit of extra information about this question type. So this question is mostly in order, and therefore you should assume that it goes in order. So it has a medium level of difficulty, and it's not too difficult. You shouldn't have a problem with it once you understand the basic strategy involved. Next, as already mentioned, typically there are going to be two questions that you're going to find right next to each other. But keep in mind that oftentimes what ends up happening is that the order of these questions may be reversed. So for example, if you are looking for the answers to question number 2 and question number 3 in the reading passage, it's very likely that these questions are going to go in order. So you might find the answer to question number 2 first, and then in the next line or in the next paragraph after number 2, you're going to find the answer to question number 3. But here's what can happen if you have two questions that are right next to each other. If you get two questions that are right next to each other, then their order may be reversed. That means that you might find the answer to question number 3 right before you find the answer to question number 2. In fact, you might find the answers to the two questions in the same sentence, or you might find them in two sentences right beside each other. Next thing to note is that this question is very similar to fill in the blank questions. So like I said, it's not too difficult. Each question is only formed from 1 to 2 sentences in the reading passage. I know you've seen me repeat this over and over, but I really want to stress the point that throughout all the different question types, the answer to each question is going to be taken from only 1 to 2 sentences. So it's very important to be able to recognize the keywords, the synonym language, and to be able to effectively locate that matching sentence, that important sentence. Finally, again, another repetition, you need to be able to scan for keywords and understand synonym language. Now, when it comes to this type of question, the table question, there are two main types of directions that come with this type of question. So I want to show you those two types of directions now. The first type is type number 1, in which the question is going to ask you to complete the table by using words from a box. So you're going to have a box, and in that box, you're going to have answer choices A, B, C, and D, and you just have to choose the correct answer choice for each blank. Now, sometimes what might happen is you might get extra answer choices. For example, there might be only 3 questions, but 4 answer choices. So if there is an extra answer choice, then one of the answer choices is not going to be used. On the other hand, if you get more questions than answer choices, then one of the answer choices is going to be used twice. Now here's the second type of direction. You may be asked to complete the table by filling out the blank, by writing out the answer. So in this case, it's going to tell you how many words you can write. In this case, you cannot write any more than one word. If you write more than one word, it's going to be marked wrong. So you just have to write the answer in this blank line. It might be a word or it might be a number. The directions are going to tell you that. Now let's go over the basic strategy. You've already seen this basic strategy, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but just to refresh your memory and to highlight the point that the main strategy across all these different question types is very similar. So you may have noticed that you're pretty much doing the same thing for all the different question types. There might be some things that you do a little bit different, but for the most part, the main strategy stays the same. The main strategy is, of course, to mark the keywords, to identify the easy questions, scan the passage to find the keywords and, very important, synonym language, mark those keywords in the reading passage, and then you would look for the connecting words. In this case, when we're talking about the table question, which is very much like a fill-in-the-blank question, the connecting words are words that go before the blank line and words that come after the blank line. So these are what we call connecting words, and by paying attention to the connecting words, you can figure out whether the answer that you have chosen fits into the sentence. It has to fit. It has to fit from a grammatical point of view, and the structure has to fit. So in that sense, this is kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. You have to make sure that the pieces fit together. So the connecting words will tell you whether the answer that you have chosen is the right answer or not. Finally, since these questions go mostly in order, and we're assuming that these questions go in order, so we're going to put a question number next to the matching sentence so that we can figure out where to look for the answers for the remaining questions. Now let me show you some examples of the table question in action. So let's take this question set for our example. So this has something to do with geoengineering projects. So, well, that can be useful because geoengineering projects might be a repetitive keyword if it appears as a title. And if everything here is related to geoengineering projects, then these keywords may not be so useful for us. Alright, now when you have a question set, you're going to start off by first paying attention to how many words you can write. Figure out the directions. Is it a question in which you have to pick the answer choices, or do you have to fill in the answer in the blank lines? In this case, we have the blank lines, so let's pay attention to how many words we can write. In this case, only one. The next thing to do is to highlight the keywords in each one of these questions. So right here in the first question, these are the keywords that will be useful for me to find the matching sentence in the reading passage. So it mentions large number of tiny spacecraft, something about orbit and above Earth. Here it mentions something about reducing the amount of light reaching Earth. In the next two questions, number 2 and number 3, these are the keywords: place, see, encourage, and to form. And finally, we have aerosol sprays, stratosphere, create, reduce, light reaching Earth. So now, after looking at all of these keywords, I want to ask you a question. Which questions do you think are going to be the easiest for us to answer? Which ones? Number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4? Where should we start? What are the easiest keywords? I think that the easiest keywords are right here: aerosol sprays and stratosphere. Those words are going to be very easy for us to locate. I also think that tiny spacecraft is going to be easy to find. That should be easy to find. light reaching Earth, I'm not sure about that. That appears twice, so that could be useful. But I would start off by answering question number 4. So I would put a check mark next to that, and I would start off there. The other thing that I want you to be mindful of when you're answering these questions are what we call connecting words. So I've already talked about the importance of connecting words. Connecting words are words that appear before the blank line and after the blank line. These are the words that are going to tell you what is going to be the correct answer, because the correct answer is going to fit with these connecting words. Just like a jigsaw puzzle, they're going to fit together in terms of structure, in terms of grammar, and so on. Okay, structurally it's going to make sense, and so these connecting words are very useful clues for identifying whether you have chosen the correct answer or not. So always pay attention to these connecting words, because they're going to help you to identify what information the question is asking you for and what is going to be the correct answer. Now, the last thing that I want to point out is a point that I've mentioned before. I told you that these questions are going to go in order most of the times. So most of the times, the answer to number 2 is going to come before the answer to question number 3. However, if you see 2 questions right next to each other, like what we have over here, number 2 is here, and then right next to it we have question number 3. If this happens, and this is quite common, it can very easily happen. And so keep in mind that when this happens, it is very possible, and it often happens, that the answers are reversed. That means that you might find the answer to question number 3 before you find the answer to question number 2. The order can be reversed when questions appear next to each other. Awesome. Now let's go ahead and start answering these questions. We're going to start off by answering question number 4 first. So here is question number 4, and at this point, what we would do after marking our keywords is we would go to our reading passage. Here's our reading passage. I've taken a small portion from the article just to show you how this works. And once you are looking at the reading passage, you would start to scan for these keywords. So let's start scanning. Let's look for aerosol sprays and stratosphere. Those are the easiest keywords. So here we go. And right away, we have aerosol sprays right there. And next to it, we have stratosphere. Aerosol sprays and stratosphere. You'll also notice that it mentions other keywords like aerosols, which could be synonym or shorter form for aerosol sprays. And then we have light, which is mentioned over here. So these are the main keywords that I was looking for, but there are also other keywords in here. So I'm pretty sure that I'm going to find my answer somewhere around here. So let's go ahead and read this sentence. It says, the concept of releasing aerosol sprays into the stratosphere above the Arctic has been proposed by several scientists. Let's look at what the question is asking us. It says, the procedure is to release aerosol sprays in the stratosphere. Alright, so it mentions something about that right here. And then the question says that we do this procedure in order to create dash that would reduce the amount of light reaching the Earth. Okay, so we still don't know what this something is. Create what? We are looking for a noun. Our answer is going to be a noun, some sort of a thing. We want to find out create what. So let's keep reading on. I want to read the next sentence. This would involve using sulfur or hydrogen sulfide aerosols so that sulfur dioxide would form clouds, which would in turn lead to a global dimming. All right, now I see some synonym language here, and I also see my answer. But let's go over the synonym language first. Right here we have the word form. The word form is synonym language for create. To form is the same thing as to create. Another synonym language here is global dimming. Global dimming is synonym language for a reduction in the amount of light reaching Earth. So the light has dimmed, the amount of light reaching the Earth has been reduced. So that is synonym language for global dimming. So right here we have our matching sentence. This is where we have our answer. It says right here to create what? To create clouds. So the correct answer is going to be clouds. Just put that in your answer sheet. And once you're done with answering this question, just put a number next to where you found the answer. This way, now we know that since we have the answer to question number 4 in this line, the answers to the previous questions, question number 1, 2, and 3, are all going to come before this point. So let's move on to our other questions now. Let's move on to number 1, because I think that tiny spacecraft is another good keyword that we should be able to find relatively easily. So once you have the keywords in the question, in the sentence, then you would go back to the reading passage and you would start scanning for these keywords. So here we go. Let's scan for these keywords. Here I see something about reducing the amount of sunlight reaching the planet. All right, that's that right there. Here we go. Minute spacecraft. Minute spacecraft. That is just synonym language for tiny spacecraft. All right, and then it says something about putting it above the Earth. Above the Earth. So we found a lot of different keywords, relevant keywords. I'm very certain that we're going to find our answer around here. So here we have our keywords: spacecraft, orbit, light reaching the Earth. Also mentions amount of light reaching the planet over here as well. Here we have synonym language. It says employ up to 16 trillion. Employ up to 16 trillion. That's a huge number, 16 trillion. So to employ is synonym language for to put. And large number is, well, 16 trillion. That's a huge number. Here we have another use of synonym language. The word minute is synonym language for tiny, very small. And finally, to form is synonym language for to create. So here it tells us to form, to create a dash. We're looking for something, it's going to be a noun. To create something that would reduce the amount of light reaching the Earth. So what could it be? Well, let's read this part right here, because this is going to be our matching sentence. We're going to find our answer somewhere around here. So this sentence reads, his scheme would employ up to 16 trillion minute spacecraft, each weighing about 1 gram, to form a transparent, sunlight refracting sunshade in an orbit 1.5 million kilometers above the Earth. This could, argues Angel, reduce the amount of light reaching the Earth by 2%. Okay, so we have found our answer. The answer is going to be sunshade. To form what? To form a transparent, sunlight refracting sunshade. That is a noun. Something, okay? So that's how the connecting words can help us. The connecting word is telling me that it's going to be something, to create something. So the answer cannot be transparent, right? That's an adjective. It can also not be sunlight refracting. That's also not a noun. It's an adjective. So the correct answer is sunshade. That is a noun. So very useful to pay attention to these connecting keywords. So in summary, what you got to do is locate the keywords in the reading passage, locate the synonym language, figure out what the matching sentence is, and then just go back to your question and make sure that you know what the connecting words are asking you for, and then just find an answer that is going to fit into the blank line like the perfect piece of jigsaw puzzle. Let's move on and fill in our answer right here into the answer sheet, sunshade. Keep in mind the answer has to be one word. The directions are very important. And finally, once you've answered the question, just put a number next to the line where you found the answer. All right, now here we have our last two questions, question number 2 and number 3. Now, this should not be very difficult for us to answer. I mean, we don't have great keywords here. We have place something in the sea, so we know that the answer is going to be a noun. It has to be something in order to be placed into the sea. For number 3, it says to encourage dash to form, probably also going to be a noun, to encourage something to form. So let's see what the answer to that is. Now, we don't have great keywords, but still, it's going to be relatively easy for us to answer these questions. Why? Because we already know where we found the answer to question number 1 and where we found the answer to question number 4. So there's a very high probability that we're going to find the answers to question number 2 and 3 in between our answers for number 1 and number 4. So we're going to go to our reading passage now, and let's start scanning for these keywords: place, see, encourage, and form. Alright, here I see the word stimulate. Stimulate. Stimulate is synonym language for encourage. Encourage. Let's see what else. Alright, so here I also see that it mentions deposit. Deposit. So depositing is a synonym language for placing, to put or to place. So let's go ahead and start marking these in our reading passage. Depositing is going to be synonym language for place. Right here you'll see the word ocean, and that is synonym language for sea. Now, technically speaking, ocean and sea are not the same thing, right? Oceans are much larger than seas, so they're not the same thing. But you have to keep in mind that when they use words like this is synonym language, so it can be a little bit flexible. The meaning doesn't have to be exactly the same, it just has to be very, very close to it. So be aware that they can use synonym language of this type. They can be a little bit more flexible with it. So here we have synonym language again, and right here we have stimulate, that's synonym language for encourage, and here you'll see it mentions the word growth. To grow is synonym language for to form. To form. So that is another use of synonym language there. So we found all of our keywords here. We didn't actually find exact keywords for anything. Rather, we only found synonym language for each one of our keywords. So this is going to be our matching sentence right here. This is where we're going to find our answer. So let's go ahead and read this sentence now. The sentence says, the majority of geoengineering projects so far carried out, which include planting forests in deserts and depositing iron in the ocean to stimulate the growth of algae, have focused on achieving a general cooling of the earth. Alright, so place what into the sea? Deposit what into the ocean? Deposit iron into the ocean. Deposit iron in the sea. Okay, and then here we have stimulate the growth of what? Encourage what to form? Encourage algae to form. So the correct answers are iron and algae. Put that into your answer sheet, and once you're done, you can put the question number next to the line where you found the answer. If there are more questions in the question set, if these happen to be the last questions in the question set that you're answering, then you don't have to do this. Awesome. So we are now done here, and in the next 2 videos, I want to take you through practice questions for the table question type. I'll see you there.